What's going on? Welcome back to In the Bag Disc Golf. What we got for you today is an In the Bag on In the Bag Disc Golf. But first, we'd like to thank our sponsor for today's video. 2-for-1 gas station burritos. Without you, we would not only be able to fill our tummies with yummy beefy cheesy goodness, but today's video would not be possible without you. For that, we thank you. Let's move on to the video. I've been getting hit up saying, hey, what do you throw normally? We see what you throw on these one brand one rounds, and when you like a disc on a disc review, we see all this. What do you take out to the course to carve up a nice course? So that's what we're going to do today. And it kind of seems like here, third time's a charm, because this is the third time I've attempted to shoot this video. First time I filmed it all. For whatever reason I didn't post it. I was working on other things. It kept getting pushed back and pushed back and pushed back and pushed back in the editing process, and I just never posted it. So I was gonna use that, but as I was watching through it, some of those discs, a good 5, 6, 7 discs, I just didn't have in the bag anymore, or they were alternates replaced by other discs now. And some of those discs may still go into the bag. We'll get into a couple of those as this goes on. But the main beef of my bag stays the same no matter where I'm playing. I'll switch out a disc here and there depending on the day and where I'm playing. If I know I'm going to have certain shots, I'll be like, okay, let me take this disc out and put this disc in. Of course, everybody's going to do it, but the main bag is what I wanted to focus on for this. So what we're about to jump into is my everyday take to the course in the bag video. So let's get to it. Alright, so let's jump into the bag here, see what we throw on an everyday round. This bag is set up how I go out every single round. I can take this bag out as is and play any course that I ever want to play. So let's start with putting putters, then we'll go to approach putters, throwing putters, mid-ranges, fairways, distance drivers, and then hop into utility discs. And if there's enough time, we'll run around the bag and see what we got hiding in there. So without further ado, let's get into this bad boy. Alright, so my main putting putter right now is the Soft Electron Pilot. Ever since I did the Streamline video, the Pilot has went in the bag instantly. Not only did it go in the bag, but 2 different versions went in the bag. It's that good. It's that good of a disc. But for putting, the neutral stability of this thing, it's a 2.5 -1.1, so it's just dead straight. The 5 glide, I mean, I'm hitting putts that I never hit before with the same effort. It'll just easily glide on a 35-foot putt. I'm easily getting another 5 foot of distance with the same exact putt. So that's my main putter right now. Up until now there was a different putter in this slot, but recently this one kind of worked its way in. It's not permanent, but it's semi-permanent for right now. It's one of those things I'm kind of working out. And that disc is the Lone Star Penny Putter. Now I have mine in the Victor plastic, and they have Victor and the Victor 2 and probably another one, I think like a premium version. But the Victor plastic is nice and soft, and if you've ever watched one of my videos, I love soft plastic, especially in putters. So it was just a no-brainer that I was gonna like this disc. Now, at first I was a little worried because it was a little bit more rounded than I like, but it's enough of that P2 inside the rim edge that there's enough there that it feels really good in the hand, and the plastic is amazing. Oh, it's so good. Everybody I hand this disc to, they're like, oh my god, this feels so good, because it does feel good. It feels like a number 2 pencil eraser, like the Gateway eraser plastic. It feels like that, but it is soft, and way softer than any super stupid, silly, soft, whatever the heck dumb things they have. None of them are soft enough for me. None of them. I got several putters in the 4S and Gateway. None of them are soft enough. This one, it's just right. That's why this one's kind of worked in the bag recently. Hence, another reason why I had to refilm this thing. But, very good straight putter. I don't putt with this putter all the time, but I putt with it all the time, if that makes any sense. If there is even the tiniest bit of chance of a rollaway, I'm throwing this putter, and it is the classic super soft Marshall. They don't make them anymore. I got a big fat stack of replacements in the closet there, but this one I've had for a long time, and it's all kinds of waffled and crazy, and it's just a great putter. I mean, if you've never seen a super soft and dynamic, you can fold it up and you're good to go, and it's just ready to go. If there's a big headwind, I've seen people crumble these things up like this and throw it straight at the basket, and by the time it's hitting the chains, it's popping out and it's hitting the chains, and you're good to go. So any chance of a rollaway, I'm using this. But I get the same flight as I do with the other two. Just with the Pilot, I get a little more glide. Alright, let's move into approach putters. Normally have 2 of them, and they're these 2 right here. So one of my main approach putters is the Slammer, and kind of like the Marshall, it's in that super soft. So this is kind of a double dip here, because they don't make the plastic anymore and they don't make the mold anymore. So I got me a fat stack of replacements in the closet. You can throw this disc as hard as you want, and it's just going to go dead straight, and it's going to finish by 10 feet. It's going to finish hard, and the super soft plastic, when it hits, it sticks. And it's one of my go-to approaches. And if the hole's short enough, I'll take it off the tee. One of my favorite approach putters, and the reason why I have 2 is while that one's overstable and will get that finish, the Castoplast K2 Berg, now the K1, but I've had this thing for years and it's a K2. This thing is dead straight. You can throw it as hard as you want, it's just going to go dead straight, and when it hits, it's going to sit, just because of the way that the mold is. If you've never seen one of these, go check out, I'll put a link right here, go check out our Castoplast Berg review. It's an amazing disc. If you don't have one, get one. If you don't have one and you weren't thinking about getting one, you're doing a disservice to your golf game. You need one. Trust me. There's a reason why Eric Oakley threw it twice and was like, yeah, I need that in my bag. And now he's got his own stamp. It's that good. Everybody who chooses to throw it and try it out, they love it. And you're going to love it too. This is by far one of my favorite discs. And it's always in the bag. I don't care how many discs I'm taking. I could take 2 discs to the course. It's going to be this and a driver. And I'll just putt with this because I have to have it, even though I don't like putting with it. The next 2 discs here are also in that putt and approach. I don't know how long they're going to stay in the bag, but right now I take them out every time and I find uses for them both. The first one is the Elevation Koi. This thing is crazy understable. whenever throwing with power, putting, you have to, honestly, if you don't have a spin putt, you're not going to like putting with this thing, because it's just going to feel like a dead fish or a dead koi. I didn't even mean to do that. It's going to feel like a dead floppy fish in your hands if you got like a push putt. Because look what happens. Look, I'm going to push putt it. Yeah, you're not doing that. But if you got a spin putt, it's pretty nice. And I've been testing it out as either a replacement for the Super Soft Marshall or a complement to it. And honestly, I'm finding if I throw it really soft, it's just dead straight. Like the other day we were out at the course and I was kind of stuck in between some trees, and I threw it just nice and soft, slightly nose up, hit the cage, fell right next to the basket. It's not going to go anywhere. Where's this thing going to go? I mean, I could fold this thing into triplicates. Like it's so floppy and so good that and I love super soft plastic and like rubbery plastic, so of course I had to try it. And I'm trying to work out where it's going to fit into my game. Whoa. My daughter's out there super excited about watching Snow White. It's been in the bag for a few months now. Still trying to work it out. I'm not sure if this one's going to stay in the bag. It's kind of fighting with the slammer, really, is the Elevation Interceptor. This disc, while it's nice and floppy, it's a little more stiffer because of the rim, but it's still floppy. I can't quite figure out if I want to keep this one in the bag. It's good to have, and I like it. It's just, does it do what the slammer can't? No. Is it more stable than slammer? Absolutely. Absolutely. And honestly, that's the only reason it's still in the bag right now. It's like having a more stable slammer in my bag. And that shot comes in handy. So that's why this is still in there. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to stay in here, but it's been in there for a while, and I don't see anything yet taking it out, so it's in the bag. Hence, it's in the video. But both of those discs, as soon as they hit the ground, they're going to move 3 or 4 inches. I don't care how hard you threw the disc, it's going to come down, it's going to hit the ground, it's going to go 3 or 4 inches, and it's going to stop. And that is an amazing thing to have when you're on the course, especially if you're hitting gravel or dirt and there's no grass there. You got to have something to slow you down, because those hard plastics will hit and they'll slide another 20 feet. We'll move on to our actual throwing putters. I take these off the tee or on really long approaches, almost into that mid-range section. The Pro Discus Jokery. I have a backup. It doesn't look as cool as this one. It's just a regular stock Jokery, but both of them are in the Ultrium plastic. This disc is such a good thrower. If I want to get top distance with a putter, I'm throwing this every time. I can throw this as hard as I can. It's not going to turn over. It's going to go dead straight, and it's going to finish just a little bit in the end. And it's amazing. If you don't have a Jokery, you need to get one, especially in the Ultrium plastic. Their Ultrium plastic is up there in the top 3 in all of disc golf for how their plastic feels. But a lot of people don't know about Pro Discus and don't throw Pro Discus and have never held Pro Discus. But their Ultrium plastic is top notch and second to only 1 or 2, namely Castoplast. That's the only one I can really think that has better plastic feel than the Ultrium plastic. I'll tell you that right here, right now. So this is my go-to power putter. Alright, so my furthest throwing putter, Cosmic Neutron Pilot. I told you there was 2 of them in the bag. One was my putting, another one's my throwing. This thing is dead straight. If I don't want the finish that I get out of the Jokery, I'm throwing the Pilot every time. It's gonna go dead straight. It may leak a little bit right, but it's not gonna turn. It's just gonna leak a little bit, and then it's just gonna finish. And that 5 glide really translates when you're throwing this and the Jokery are usually pretty close in distance when I throw them, but that jokery is going to kind of trail off a little bit, and this one's just going to keep punching forward. So max distance with a putter, all day it's this one. But in a headwind, I'm trusting that jokery over the Pilot. Moving on to mid-ranges. I guess I'll start with this one. It's not even really a mid-range. I mean, it is a mid-range. It's a driver, kind of a fairway driver, mid-range. It's the Cax, the Castoplast Cax, and I have this one in the K1 Soft. Sometimes I have the K2. It doesn't matter. It's the same exact disc. Sometimes I'll have the Cax Z in the bag, but always I have the Cax. And the reason for that is I can throw the Cax Z as hard as I can, and it's gonna get a turn and then finish and end up kind of to the right. It'll finish, but it's gonna turn and it'll finish over to the right. The Cax, I'll throw it as hard as I can. It's gonna be very, very straight for me and finish. And that's a great shot to have, especially on approaches, like real long approaches that I don't want to get any kind of flare skip and ground play. This thing's just gonna hit there and it's gonna slide a little bit and it's gonna be good. And in the woods, it's a great disc. It's just anything I need a straight shot and I don't want to go too long. This one I'm around like 290 with consistently. Once I get better at disc golf, I'm sure I'll throw it further, but right now it's at that 290 and it's just straight the whole time and then just finish, boom, there it is. So that's kind of our first mid-range, but it's really like a mid-range driver. The next mid-range is the Recon Mortar. This disc actually took out the Gator, Gator 3, and Cayman. All three of those I had in my bag at one point. They all did similar things because they're very similar discs. Of course, like the Gator 3 was a little more stable, the Gator was kind of stable, and the Cayman was like a little shorter of a disc for me, but the same flight. I threw this Mortar and I was like, this does everything all three of those do, because there was a lot of overlap, mind you, in those discs. But this kicked them all out, and I've only had this in my bag ever since then. I do want to find a Frontline X version of this because it's a softer plastic. Can't find one right now. If you can find one, send it to me. I'll send you money. I had one in my cart a couple of years ago. I didn't pull the trigger. Somebody else bought it. And I haven't been able to find another one since. And I'm very upset about it. Sometimes I cry thinking about it. I don't really do that, but I really want to try it. And I think it would replace this one in my bag, even though I love this disc. But it'd be the same disc with a better plastic, even though this plastic is awesome. But the Mortar, very, very good, overstable mid-range. The next one is the Moonshine Justice. I love this disc. It's so overstable. It's borderline an overstable approach instead of an overstable mid-range. It's kind of right there. I'm not going to get a ton of distance with this thing, but I know if I throw it as hard as I can out to the right, it's going to start biting and it's going to come in hard, and it's usually going to get a good skip and some good ground play. And that's a really cool thing to have. And depending on how high you put it is how big that skip's going to be, of course. If I throw it up nice and high, it's going to come in and spike, bounce, and kind of just mingle around right there. If I throw it nice and low and hard, I'm going to get a big skip and it's going to flare off to the left. And that's a good thing to have. But I'm not going to get a lot of distance with it. Fairways are a pretty big part of my game. I like throwing them a lot. I can almost get the same distance with a fairway as I can with a distance driver, depending on the mold. Of course, my furthest throwing discs are going to be the distance drivers, but the fairways are slow enough in speed where I can use them in different ways. Instead of changing my angles on disc, you'll notice I carry a lot of different molds instead of carrying one mold in like 4 different variations of it depending on how it's worn and beat in. I like to have different molds because I don't want to have to change my stroke, for lack of a better word, to get a different flight. I'm not good enough to change everything. I throw it the same and I let the disc do it. So for my understable shots, if I need it to go out and then turn and then keep working right, I'm going with the Glimmer Underworld here. This disc is really good. I actually got it in response to another disc that I have not being what I wanted it to be, and that's what this is. I wanted a good fairway driver that I could throw hard and flat and then have it just gradually turn to the right and finish and not come back. And that's what this thing does. Moving up in stability a little bit, we have the Castoplast Falk. Now, this one here, I got the cool octo stamp on there. I throw it hard and flat and I get a nice little S curve out of it. The harder I throw it, the more it's going to want to turn, but it's always going to kind of fight back in the end. And that's a really good thing to have for me. Now this disc here is the disc that I originally bought to be like that Underworld is, where I could throw it out flat and it would turn and just keep turning. And that's the Champion Sidewinder, this tri-fly stamp here. I got it to be that disc. When it came in, it was not that disc. At least this one. I have other Sidewinders that I've thrown and they are that disc, but this one is not that disc. This disc is like straight. Unless I put any on it, it's not going to turn it, and then it'll barely finish. So I get some pretty good distance out of this thing, and I'm not recommending for you to go out and get a Sidewinder and think you're going to get the same result. I got other Sidewinders I do not get that result of. I think they mislabeled this a Sidewinder and it's actually a T-Bird. I don't really think so, but that's what it feels like. But great disc. Now, a similar disc to that, Night Strike 2. It's just such a straight flying disc. It stops just a little bit shorter of where that Sidewinder will land, but they're very similar flights. Very similar flights. But they're just so close that I just kind of have them right next to each other in the bag. And if I need a little bit more distance, I'll go for the Sidewinder. Now, this disc here, Streamline Cosmic Neutron Lift. I mainly have this one in the main part of my bag because it's so pretty. It's my tool disc. That's what I say. I'm gonna throw my tool disc. It looks like it's from the cover of Lateralis. So of course it's in my bag, always. But in the Cosmic Neutron plastic, this disc flies exactly like an Innova Valkyrie. Ever since I first started in disc golf, the Innova Valkyrie has been a big part of my game. I love that disc. I still love that disc. I have it in the bag. We're not there yet. It's a backup to this disc. It's basically a Valkyrie. I love the Valkyrie, so I throw this one in its place. This is my Valkyrie, even though it's a Streamline lift. And a regular lift will turn on me on power shots. This one won't. Mainly because the Cosmic Neutron plastic is a little more stable. After that, we have the Castoplast Lots. Honestly, the lift in the Cosmic Neutron plastic, it's a little more stable than this Lots, honestly. Or Lutz, however you want to say it. You throw it, you're going to get a nice little S curve. If you got a huge arm, it'll be a nice turnover driver for you. It's a 9.5 -1.2, and it flies every bit of that. It's very Valkyrie-like, maybe slightly less stable. It's a very good disc, and it's got a lot of good glide. That 5 glide, I would argue maybe it's even a 6. I can get some really good distance with this disc. Alright, so moving into distance drivers, and really, I'm kind of the guy that's like, up until a 9 speed, that's fairway driver in my mind. Some companies call a 9-speed a fairway, some call a distance driver. Just depends on the manufacturer. Me personally, I think 9 is the cutoff. If you're a 9-speed, you're a high-speed fairway. If you're a 10, you're starting to be distance driver. 10 to 14 or wherever it goes. I think there's even a 15 out there. 10 and above, your distance. 9 and below, like 9 to 7, 6 in there, you're a fairway. But the Mint Freetail is a really, really good disc. Oh man, it's such a good hyzer flip disc. What I mainly use it for is throwing that 10 to 15 foot off the ground shot hard and flat. I mean hard and flat, and then just watching it just kick over and just long turn. There's several shots on courses where I need that shot because I don't have a forehand. I've tried. It's something I'm working on slowly but surely. Not hard enough, obviously. When I need that right hand shot, I'm going to the Freetail, so it'll just pan out, and then it won't really finish big in the end. And as long as I get some good height on it, it's not going to cut roll out. You know, it's not going to just turn over, hit the ground, and cut roll out. It'll just stay in the air and keep turning. And there's several shots around town where I use this on. Moving up into more stability, we have the Chameleon Musket. It's got that real tight S-line shape, but it's going to get out there a little further. I'm probably getting this thing out in that 300 range, not much further than that. It can hold up to a headwind to a certain point. It's still going to come back, but it's not going to come all the way back. If I throw in a big strong headwind, it's going to turn over and then it'll come out in the end, but it's still going to finish off to the right. And the Chameleon plastic's just real nice looking. It's just a pretty disc to have in your bag, but the flight of the musket is very, very nice. So now let's get into our longest throwing distance drivers. My main two throwers are these two discs here, and they kind of both happen to have tri-fly stamps on them. This one here is my Dynamic Disc Raider, and it's in that lucid plastic. It's got that sweet little circle of DDs on the back. It's got the sweet tri-fly stamp. You know, this may be why that Sidewinder is as stable as it is. I don't know what it is, but tri-fly dyed discs, they seem to be a little more stable than ones that don't have the tri-fly dye on them. I don't know if it's their dyeing process. I mean, surely they're just setting it in the dye and then letting it sit there. Maybe it's the heat at which they have their dye at. I'm not sure. I have a lot of discs that I've dyed, and none of them have really changed the stability of the disc. But with them, I have 3 of them. All 3 of them are more stable than versions of the same disc that aren't tri-fly dyed. I got a couple of buddies that kind of concur. I'm not sure on this, but it seems like this is how it goes. It's just weird. But the Raider, one of my longest throwing, straightest drivers, has honestly recently started to kind of turn on me a little too much. I can't trust it as much as I used to, at least when there's wind involved. This is an Innova Glow Strike. I originally got this to fly like another disc in here, but it ended up flying exactly like the Raider. I think because it's in glow plastic, so it jumped up a stability in the glow, and it ended up being exactly like the Raider. And in the hand, they feel the same. So that's mainly why I have these two in the bag, because they are spitting image of each other. I get the same flight, they feel the same, they both tri-fly, they both look good sitting next to each other, they hug up and kiss and look great. I normally throw this one. On glow rounds, I'm throwing this one, of course, because it's glow and it flies the exact same, so I get that same distance shot but in glow. But recently, I think because I throw this one more, it's starting to get beat in a little more than this one. So I think I'm gonna have to start throwing this one more and kind of extend the life of this one. Does this make any sense? Now this one goes and it S-curves, or it turns over and then finishes off to the right. This one still goes dead straight and finishes. So now, they used to be the same disc, now they're not. So now I got two different shots. But that's what happens when you beat in a disc. So these are both of my main distance drivers. Now, this is also an Innova Glow Shrike. This one I dyed myself with a little Empire symbol on there. This one's less stable than the other one. That's why I have two of them. It's just that one's gotten beaten in so much. Now this one and the Raider are pretty similar in flight, and the other Shrike is more stable. The other Shrike flies like a destroyer. This one flies like a Shrike. So it's just one of those weird things. I didn't think that this one would be less stable than my other Glow Shrike that has the Tri-Fly, but I think because of the Tri-Fly, it's more stable. But very cool disc. Also taking on glow rounds, of course. The next one here is the Castoplast Glow Grim X. This is a 2021 Glow, so it's a little less stable than my regular Grim. This is a Grim X, and it's nice and flat, and it just feels great in the hand. I get really good distance out of this, but I got to be careful if I got a headwind, because it'll turn over on me. Where I'll throw my regular Grim that's not Glow, given that Grim is 2018, and it seems like the 20s and 21s on the Glows are a little less stable. So I get really good distance on this, but I can turn it over too much if I don't watch it. So I got to make sure there's no wind. But a great long range disc. DD2. It's in the G-line plastic because I just love being able to sink my thumb in and just ripping it. And honestly, the only reason I have the DD2 is because I have the Innova G-Star Daedalus. This one's probably my longest throwing disc because it's my most unstable distance driver. If I throw it hard and flat, I'm going to get a big S-curve and it's going to kind of finish off to the right. I usually throw it with a little bit of hyzer and watch it pop up and just cruise. And it'll go for days. For me, I get this with about 330, 350. But the DD2 is almost the same as the Daedalus, but a little more stable. So if there's a little bit more wind and I'm not quite gonna trust this not to just completely turn over and ride right, I'll throw the DD2. Even though I trusted a little more in the wind, it'll still turn over in the wind. It's done it to me before. I thought it could handle it. It did not, and I went OB and I learned a valuable lesson. If you got a strong headwind, keep both of these in the bag. Go to the Raider or the Glow Shrike, something else that's more stable. But both very good drivers. They feel the exact same in the hand, and they complement each other great, being the understable version and the more stable version, not overstable but more stable than this one. The most stable driver in my bag, almost, Chameleon Ballista. I have a regular Ballista Pro, not as stable as this. I have regular ballistas, of course, not as stable as this. In this Opto X Chameleon, this thing's a beefcake, and I can throw it and it'll be just super flat and probably get out 250-ish before it starts to just crawl left. I mean, it doesn't dump out and fall. It continues to go forward, but it's just moving left. And so it's a pretty good shot to have, so that's why I keep this one in the bag. Now let's get into our utility discs. Castoplast Rask. This is the most overstable driver I have. And if you have one, it's the most overstable driver you have as well. If you haven't seen our review on this, I'll put it around over here somewhere and check that out. It's a very awesome disc. It's pretty similar to that Chameleon Ballista, but way more stable. And honestly, I can't really get this quite as far as that. I get a lot more skip out of this disc. If you throw it real high, of course it's going to come out and it's just going to hit the ground and stick. Maybe bounce around a little bit. But if you throw it low, this thing is going to catch edge and it's going to skip 60, 70, 80 feet to the left or right, whichever way you throw. But it's going to skip and just get around a corner. While this is a utility disc for me, I do throw it in more situations than just being utility and get out of jail, and you know, like I'm in the woods and I'm in trouble, I'll use this disc. But I do find that I'm using it more often in out in the open type shots as well, just because of the way it flies. It's a great disc. You gotta check it out. All right, the other utility disc that we have is a putter, and this disc is very unique in that it's very shallow. It's almost driver mid-range-ish in shape, and it's very understable, super understable. That's what both of my utility discs, one is a very understable putter and one is a very overstable driver. And like the Rask, I don't throw it on every round, but when I need it, it really helps out. I can throw this thing hard and flat and it's just going to turn and turn and turn. And I can throw it real soft and it's just going to go straight and then just sit. So a lot of times if like I gotta like stretch way out and throw a little Annie approach and just have it kind of coast in and simmer down, I'm throwing this one. It holds Annie even when you don't want it to. Alright, moving on to this section. I have a complement to the lift. It's the end of a Valkyrie, and it's in the Gummy Champ, so it kind of will sit a little easier than a regular disc because it's a little softer. It'll just come in and not get as much of a skip, and so I'll pull that out when I don't want a lot of skip. This disc here is my only Discraft made disc. I'm not a huge Discraft fan. This is DGA, but it's still made by Discraft. So this is the Undertow, and it's like in this metal flake type plastic. The cool thing about this disc is it's a 10 speed. It's got a -1 turn and a 1 fade. So it's like 10-4 -1-1 or 10-5 -1-1. I can't remember what the glide is, but that -1-1 really stood out to me when I saw those numbers, and I was like, man, that would be a really good tunnel shot driver that's not going to try to skip way off to the left when it finishes. And it does that. It does exactly that. I'm not really trusting it outside of the woods if there's any wind. If there's no wind, it doesn't matter, but if there's any wind, it'll turn. And when it hits the ground, it may be kind of finished and left, but I'm not getting that skip off and coming off target. So I'm sticking pretty close where I'm trying to go. This disc here is a dynamic disc Trespass. While the Trespass is a good disc, I don't care if I lose this disc. So if there's water around, there's water on the right, water on the left, water long, I gotta throw over water, anything like that, I'm throwing this disc, because if it goes in the water and I lose it, I don't care. So I believe in having 1 or 2 of those discs in your bag all the time for those situations. And this flies good. I can throw it with power, it'll stay straight, it'll kind of S-curve and everything, but overall I'm getting that straight flight. It may turn a little bit, but when it finishes I'm going to be pretty much straight. So that's my throwaway disc. Everybody needs 1 or 2 in their bag. And that's all the discs that are in the bag. I have my little Castoplast little double mini. They just kind of fit together. You can throw one of those little beer toppers in there. I don't know where it is right now, but that goes in there. The In these over here, I got a rain poncho. These are some leg sleeves. Whenever there's like, we're in the woods and there's like ticks and stuff around, or there's like pricker bushes or the little sticker bushes, I'll throw these on sometimes. I got a baby power bank in here that I mainly use to charge up my glow lights when we're doing glow arounds. A little sandpaper, a little heavy grit sandpaper if I scuff up my disc. I don't even know what that is. A little flashlight, needs more batteries. And whenever my arm starts to get sore and hurt, I got a little arm sleeve that I'll put on. That's pretty much all that's in that side. Over here, neck gaiter. It's only in there really because there was golf balls. Back when the Rona was going strong, I threw it in there. It's been there ever since. Of course, you gotta have your disc retriever. This is my little quick stick. I like the disc retriever head on there. I know they got the hooks too. One of my brother's got the hook, and I like it too. But I like that one for getting out of trees. I like this one for getting out of the water. Over here, what do we got? Oh, we got a UV light for glow around. Of course, we got our little dinosaur buddy here. He's cool. He's awesome. Toot, toot, toot. He turns his head and turns his head, looks around, bites at you, does all the cool things. He's just a cool little guy to have on my cart. But most of the time I have him off and he's just hanging out there just to keep me company on lonely days. Utility holder here. Mainly I only use this to throw my chair into. I got like a little trifold chair, the little triangle chairs, and I'll throw that in there. In this pouch over here is a bunch of towels. You know, of course I got my flight towel and then my Castoplast waffle towel. Whenever there's a lot of water and everything out there, these waffle towels get things dry really fast. And then another towel, little alien towel. Oh, microfiber Castoplast towel. I'm not gonna pull that thing out. It's a microfiber towel. And another waffle towel. Let me see. Oh, this was the one I got for being in the Infinite Discs Next Gen tournament. Let's see what else we got in here. Plastic bag for if it starts to rain real bad, I'll throw my phone in there. Chapstick, a little carabiner, a little bag. Once I put my phone in the plastic bag, I'll put that plastic bag into here and cinch it up. Just a little more protection to make sure my phone don't get wet. Even though my phone's waterproof also, but I don't leave it up to technology. I forgot I had this in there. This is one of those little towels that you wet and then wring them out, and then they get real cold. So it's Texas here, you know, it gets real hot in Texas. So you gotta stay cool out there, so that comes in handy. And then of course a little Batman bottle opener, because I drink beer and I drink lots of it. So I gotta have a way to open up those beers while I'm on the course. So that's pretty much it on the cart. I carry the commander bag on my Zuka Easy Cart, and on the bottom of the Easy Cart I have 2 coolers that I fill with beer or water, but let's be honest, it's beer. I also have the Zuka pouch, the putter pouch, but really I like the Ridge Roller pouch better. I can just reach in, I can fit 3 discs in there comfortably and just pull them in and out. Got my pens, pencils, Sharpie. I like this little pouch here, that way you can reach in and grab stuff. I usually keep my mini in here. Yeah, see I got a tool mini in here. I keep my well sack in here, little Jomez Pro well sack. Usually I'll throw my phone in here with it, whatever. On the side, I got a couple of bag tags from different leagues that we're in around here. Some nail clippers for not only my nails, but sometimes you'll scuff your disc and it'll have a little burr on it. You can clip it off with the nail clippers, take your sandpaper, buff it out, boom, you got a brand new disc. This, I got a little pill caddy, put ibuprofen and Benadryl in there. I get real bad allergies. Little old school, little Batman, little keychain. I got a Raphael Ninja Turtle keychain just to keep me company out there. I think on this side, got my PDGA card and a little Deadpool. Over here I got a Wellsax pin because, you know, Oakley's one of my favorite golfers and you gotta support your favorite golfers. A little Batman pin that Adrian actually brought me back when he went out of town. He saw it, said he had to bring it back. I threw it on the bag here. And then I got a little dude. The dude abides. So I got that on there. Let's talk a little bit about the discs that kind of work their way into my bag and ones that have always been in my bag and recently come out. Namely, the Imperial Eagle 2 P2. Now, this isn't totally out of my bag, but that penny putter is kind of challenging it. You know, it's kind of challenging with if this is going to stay in the bag or that's going to stay in the bag, or possibly if I'm going to figure out a way to put two in the bag, I might move that super soft Marshall down into where that interceptor goes or where that koi goes, put that down, and then also carry this, the Pilot and the penny putter. I'm not sure yet. This has been my main putter and the super soft Marshall for so many years. Other throwing putters, the Streamline Stabilizer, it goes in and out of my bag for approach shots. Throwing putters, what used to be in there before the Pilot was the Rico. I still love this disc. It's a very, very good disc. I get the same exact flight I get out of the Pilot, but the Pilot seems to go a little bit further because of that 5 glide. So that's the only reason that this isn't in my bag all the time, and that is. Another approach putter works its way in, Razor Claw. Not as much nowadays, but it used to. Also, you know, the regular K3 Rico, I still putt with it sometimes. If there's a lot of headwind, Cosmic Electron Pilot, it's a little bit more stiffer and a little bit more stable than my regular one. But if there's a lot of wind, this one and the Rico will go in there and I'll take the other two out. So, but they all feel the same in the hand, and so it's not really changing anything. Just a little bit more stable. K3 Berg, just a slightly less stable version of the K2. It's just always good to have around. When I first started throwing, these two Millennium Omega Super Soft. These are very early run. You can smell them. You can smell it. You can smell it. But this is the old plastic. It's worn into where it's slick now. Super soft, and these things are straight to understable. I'm not throwing these anywhere. They're simply for putting. An old school R Pro Rhino, and this is the old school one before that new R Pro plastic they have now. This is back whenever it was all soft and slick, and this is just a good relic, and sometimes I'll still throw it in the bag to be that approach disc. Moving on to some drivers. Of course, I was talking earlier, if there's a lot of wind, I'll take that Grim X out or put this in by complement. If it's a headwind, I'll throw this. If it's tailwind, I'll throw that Grim X, the Glow Grim X. And the Castoplast Stall. It's a very nice overstable driver. If there's a lot of wind out there, I'll take this. And the Axiom Insanity. This is just another version of that dead straight shot. It kind of goes in and out, kind of in that streamline lift range. It's right in there, so that'll kind of work its way in and out. But that's pretty much it. Everything else I have, I'll take out and throw, but these are what makes the bag. Put in the comments what you're throwing. Do you bag any of the same discs that I do? By seeing these discs, Are you gonna start bagging some of these discs or trying them? Make sure you like, share, subscribe, hit the little bell for notifications. Click this little guy right here. Here, punch me in the face. Subscribe right now. Boom, that's what I'm talking about. Way to go. Check out a couple of these videos, check out this video. We'll see you next time on In the Bag Disc Golf.